Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, welcome back to another Anthem video, and today we are back with another build. So far we've got other builds for the Colossus, the Interceptor and the Ranger, and today it's finally time to turn our attention to the Storm. So if you guys do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below if you have any questions, and also if you guys want to enter our new giveaway for this month, then there's a chance to win a limited edition Pokemon Let's Go Nintendo Switch. So as always, for that, click the link in the description box down below if you want to enter. Now, to begin with, let's turn our attention to the Forge. This Storm build dishes out a lot of damage, and while it might not follow the conventional combo structure format, it will definitely yield great results. Now, before we start talking about the abilities, I'm going to start by talking about the weapons this time, because while a lot of the time builds in Anthem are largely speaking ability focused, and that's kind of true with this one, this is one of those builds where it does definitely benefit from a particular weapon choice. In this instance, there are actually two here that we do have. The first one, it's kind of optional, Death from Above, which is a legendary version, an upgraded version of the Guardian Marksman Rifle. The intrinsic perk for this one is of course Raptor Sense, where while hovering, it increases your weak point damage by 65%. So naturally speaking, that's just a nice thing. Your Storm, you're going to be hovering basically all the time, so this is a nice weapon. However, the main one you really want to grab here is Elemental Rage. This is an upgraded Masterwork version of the Defender, and the main perk for this one is that when you hit elite enemies, it increases your elemental damage by 5% for 10 seconds, and this stacks up to 20. So given that this is an elemental focused build, this is for sure a weapon you can get great results from. So if you are going to find weapons, this one is basically one of the ones you ideally want to have with this build. But if we then turn our attention to the abilities, the first one in this instance is a primer. It is Chaotic Rhyme, it's the Masterwork version of Frost Shards, and your additional bonus for this one is Winter's Boost, where after freezing an enemy, it increases your LB damage by 125% for 20 seconds. So by using this, by freezing enemies, by having them locked in place and making them vulnerable, you're then lining them up nicely for a more powerful version of your next ability. So if we then switch over to that one, in this case, your second ability is Venomous Blaze, which is in this instance a legendary version of the Flame Burst ability. Now, this is not a detonator, and for the most part, a lot of builds, your typical structure is prime and detonate because, you know, combos are good for generating the ultimate, combos are good for spreading effects. For the Storm, it's a good way to spread your elemental status. However, this move is incredibly powerful. Plus, the additional perk for this one is acid damage is applied to enemies after 3 consecutive hits. Now, the Storm doesn't typically have access to the acid element, so by using this, you basically have access to that, which is really good because when you apply acid to enemies, they take more damage. But also, this just deals an incredible amount of damage. When you go and freeze enemies using Chaotic Rhyme, and you then follow up with Venomous Blaze, even though you're not detonating a combo, you will rip through enemies' health, you'll rip through enemies' shields, and of course, if you then stack this with Elemental Rage to get those big stacks, you can truly dish out some devastating damage. It's kind of one of those things where when you first hear about it, you might be like, well, that seems like kind of an odd choice, but when you see it in action, or when you try it for yourself, you will not regret testing this out. Of course, on top of that, as with any good build, you want to pair it with a good suite of components. The first one is Gunslinger's Mark, which, yes, right now doesn't actually function, but there is a patch coming, ideally March 12th next week, once they confirm, that will restore this. So once this is fixed, then hovering will increase weak point damage by a percentage. It's been 0% for such a long time, I can't even remember what that's supposed to be. Basically, it's a good component when it works. On top of that, you have Elemental Empowerment, which increases your gear recharge rate by 50% of the base damage, but does lower gear damage. But given that you're going to have this access to this basically all the time, and it dishes out a lot of damage, that's completely fine. You then have Mark of Wrath, which further increases your gear damage by 50% and lowers the recharge rate, but more importantly, the legendary perk for this one, while your RB move recharges, your LB damage increases by 50% for 5 seconds. On top of that, you also have the Token of Daring, where a shield break will increase seal damage by 20% for 20 seconds. And again, given that you're floating all the time, there will come times when your shield's going to break, so you can kind of lean into this a little bit more. You have Token of the Master, where hitting an enemy with an RB attack increases your LB damage for 60% for 5 seconds. And you also have Chaotic Core, which increases blast damage by 35% of the base value. So altogether, these of course lean nicely into your abilities, but essentially the way you will be using this build is you go into the world, and depending on what you're fighting, if you're fighting trash mobs, you don't really need to lean into Elemental Rage. You can basically just prime them with Chaotic Rhyme, and you can then just follow up with Venomous Blaze to dish out devastating damage. Of course, if however you are fighting something tougher, then you can lean into Elemental Rage to build up those stacks first before you begin the Chaotic Rhyme Venomous Blaze cycle. But that is basically what you'll be doing. On the support ability front, largely speaking, you can kind of pick what you want. Wind Wall is of course going to be good for survivability. Yes, right now it doesn't function that well, but as of the update coming next week, that should also scale better for Grandmaster, so you should actually be able to use it in situations where you need to stay alive, or you could just use Quickening Field to make it so that your abilities come back quicker, but given that those abilities are generally speaking available pretty frequently, you probably won't need it too much. But either way, that, my friends, is the Storm build that we've been running most recently. This is the build that both Paradise Central and TwoSixNine have been testing out, and it definitely yields great results. So, give it a try, let us know in the comments down below how you guys get on with it, and of course, if you've got any crazy builds yourself, be sure to let us know. For the time being, that's it. Be sure to keep it locked. Plenty more Anthem content. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to check out some more awesome stuff from us here at Arekkz Gaming, then you should definitely try to catch TwoSixNine and Paradise Central streaming 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. They play a wide range of games, and what's more, we also have the end game store. By watching their streams, you earn currency, and you can redeem that currency on the endgame store for really cool prizes. Those can range from things like games, comics, and figures, all the way up to controllers, capture cards, and even consoles. So definitely drop by and become part of the community. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you're subscribed and be sure to click on that little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss our next upload. You can watch more videos by clicking on the options here, but once again, thanks very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.